There are people who think that destroying your wedding dress will stop your wedding. They're wrong. Sometimes, that's just the reason you need to show them who's really in control. If you've ever had to deal with a toxic family member, hit that subscribe button, because this story is going to show you how a quiet woman can become powerful in ways you never imagined. And trust me, the ending will leave you feeling satisfied. My name is Sarah, and I'm 28 years old. I work as a graphic designer at a mid-sized marketing firm in Connecticut, and I'd spent the last 3 years building what I thought was the perfect life with Michael. He was kind, attentive, and everything I'd hoped for in a partner. We met at a mutual friend's barbecue, and I remember thinking he had the warmest smile I'd ever seen. He made me laugh. He remembered small details about my day. He was supportive when I stayed late at work on big projects. But there was one problem, one massive, insurmountable problem that wore Chanel perfume and spoke in passive-aggressive comments disguised as concern. Patricia, Michael's mother. From the moment Michael introduced me to her at a Sunday brunch 18 months into our relationship, I knew something was off. She looked me up and down like I was a stain on her tablecloth, then turned to Michael and said, "Well, she's different from what I pictured." I smiled, extended my hand, tried to be warm. She shook it limply, like my fingers were contaminated. Over the next year and a half, I bent over backwards trying to win her approval. I brought homemade cookies to family dinners. I complimented her garden. I asked about her charity work. I even let her override my preferences for our engagement party. She wanted it at her country club, not the cozy restaurant Michael and I had chosen. I thought if I just showed her I was willing to compromise, she'd eventually warm up to me. I was wrong. Patricia had one goal, to prove I wasn't good enough for her son. And she pursued it with the dedication of someone training for the Olympics. When Michael proposed, down on one knee at the beach where we had our first date, I cried happy tears. But when we told Patricia, she didn't congratulate us. She stared at the ring, then said, "It's smaller than I expected. Michael, did you use the family stone like I suggested?" Michael looked uncomfortable. "Mom, Sarah, and I picked this one together. She loved it." Patricia's smile was tight. "Of course. How modern." The wedding planning was a nightmare. Patricia inserted herself into every decision. The venue? She hated our first 3 choices and pushed for the country club. Again. The menu? She vetoed our selections because guests expect better. The guest list? She tried to invite her book club, her tennis friends, and several people Michael hadn't spoken to since childhood. I compromised on almost everything. The venue. The menu. Even the color scheme. I'd wanted dusty blue and cream, but Patricia insisted on ivory and gold because it was more elegant. But the wedding dress? That was mine. I'd saved for months to afford it. Patricia had offered to contribute. After all, the mother of the groom traditionally helps. But then spent the next 3 weeks sending me photos of dresses she thought were more appropriate. They were all conservative, high-necked, long-sleeved gowns that looked like they belonged in a Victorian novel. When I politely declined and said I'd found a dress I loved, she stopped speaking to me for 2 weeks. Michael noticed, of course. "Just give her time," he said, rubbing my shoulders after another tense family dinner where Patricia addressed everyone at the table except me. "She'll come around once we're married. She just needs to adjust." My best friend Emma was less optimistic. We were having coffee at our favorite cafe when I vented about Patricia's latest stunt. She'd called the florist and tried to change our flower order without telling us. "Sarah," Emma said, setting down her latte with a decisive clink, "this is a red flag parade. No, scratch that. This is a red flag festival with fireworks." "She's just protective," I said weakly. "Protective?" Emma's eyebrows shot up. "She told Michael's cousin, at Thanksgiving in front of everyone, that you came from humble beginnings and probably saw Michael as a financial opportunity. Those are not the words of someone who's protective. Those are the words of someone who's threatened." I sighed. "I know, but I love Michael, and he's been better lately about standing up to her." "Has he, though?" Emma asked gently. "Or does he just say, 'Mom, that's not fair,' and then let her keep doing whatever she wants?" I didn't answer. because deep down I knew Emma was right, but I also knew I wasn't walking away. I'd invested 3 years into this relationship. I loved Michael, and I genuinely believed that once we were married, once Patricia saw that I was committed to her son, things would improve. I just had to get through the wedding. Patricia was 55, widowed for 7 years, and had spent every single one of those years making Michael her entire world. She lived in a beautiful colonial house in an upscale neighborhood, funded by her late husband's life insurance and investments. She had a weekly mani-pedi appointment, belonged to 3 social clubs, and treated motherhood like a competitive sport she was determined to win. Michael was her only child, her golden boy, the sun around which her entire universe revolved, and I was the comet threatening to knock her planet out of orbit. 2 weeks before the wedding, she invited me to lunch, just the two of us. I was surprised. She'd never wanted to spend time alone with me before. I thought maybe finally she was extending an olive branch. We met at an expensive French restaurant she'd chosen. She was already seated when I arrived, wearing a cream suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "Sarah," she said, gesturing to the chair across from her. "Thank you for coming." "Of course," I said, sitting down. "I'm glad you wanted to meet." We ordered. She got the salmon, I got the chicken, and made awkward small talk about the weather and her recent trip to Martha's Vineyard. Then, as the waiter cleared our plates, Patricia folded her hands on the table and looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "I want to be honest with you," she said. My stomach clenched. "Okay. I don't think you're right for Michael." The words hit me like a slap. "Excuse me? You're a lovely girl," she continued as if she were commenting on the weather, "but you don't come from the same background. You don't understand the expectations of our family. And I worry that Michael is making a mistake." I felt my face flush. "Patricia, Michael and I love each other. We've built a life together." "A life?" She laughed softly. "You've been dating for 3 years. That's hardly a foundation. Michael could do so much better. He could marry someone who understands his world, someone who can support his career properly, someone from a family with connections." I should have walked out. I should have told her exactly what I thought of her elitist, judgmental attitude. But I was raised to be polite, to smooth over conflict, to give people the benefit of the doubt. So instead, I said, "I respect your concerns, but Michael and I are getting married in 2 weeks. I hope you can find a way to support us." Patricia's smile didn't reach her eyes. "We'll see." When I told Michael about the lunch, he was furious. At first. "She said what?" he demanded, pacing our apartment. "That's completely out of line." "I know," I said. "But Michael, we need to set boundaries. This isn't okay." He nodded, grabbing his phone. "I'm calling her right now." I heard him on the phone in the other room, his voice rising and falling in what sounded like an argument. When he came back, he looked exhausted. "What did she say?" I asked. "She apologized," he said. "She said she was just nervous about losing me and didn't mean to hurt you. She promised to behave at the wedding." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that Patricia's apology was genuine, that she'd respect our relationship, that the wedding would go smoothly. But there was a knot in my stomach that wouldn't go away. 2 days before the wedding, Emma pulled me aside after the rehearsal dinner. "I have a weird feeling," she said. "About what?" "About Patricia. She's been too quiet tonight, too compliant. It's not like her." I glanced across the room where Patricia was chatting with Michael's aunt, her smile bright and performative. "Maybe she's finally accepted it," I said hopefully. Emma shook her head. "Sarah, I know you want to see the best in people. It's one of the things I love about you, but I've watched her for the last year and a half. She's not the type to just give up." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying—" Emma hesitated. "I'm saying she's going to pull something. I don't know what, but she's not done fighting this wedding." I laughed, trying to shake off the unease. "You're being paranoid. What's she going to do, object during the ceremony?" Emma didn't laugh. "Just be careful, okay? And if anything feels off tomorrow, you call me immediately." "I will," I promised. That night, lying in bed next to Michael, I stared at the ceiling and tried to quiet my racing thoughts. In less than 24 hours, I'd be married to the man I loved. Patricia would be my mother-in-law, for better or worse. We'd figure out how to coexist. We had to. I just had to get through one day. The morning of the wedding was chaos in the best way possible. My bridesmaids, Emma, my cousin Jessica, and my college friend Rachel, showed up at my hotel suite at 7 a.m. with coffee, pastries, and enough nervous energy to power a small city. "How are you feeling?" Emma asked, handing me a latte. "Terrified, excited, like I might throw up," I admitted. "That's completely normal," Rachel assured me. "I almost passed out walking down the aisle at my wedding. You've got this." The hair and makeup artists arrived at 8. By 10, my hair was swept into an elegant updo, my makeup was flawless, and I was starting to feel like a real bride. My wedding dress hung on the back of the closet door, a gorgeous A-line gown with delicate lace sleeves and a sweetheart neckline. It had cost $3,500, every penny of which I'd saved from my own paychecks. When I'd tried it on at the boutique, I'd cried. It was perfect. Emma kept checking her phone. "Michael's getting ready at his place. He says everything's going smoothly." "Good," I said, exhaling. "See, everything's fine." At 11, there was a knock on the door. Jessica opened it, and Patricia walked in. She was wearing a cream-colored dress that looked suspiciously bridal, her hair perfectly styled, her expression unreadable. "Patricia," I said, surprised. "Hi, I didn't know you were coming by." "I wanted to see you before the ceremony," she said, her voice unnaturally calm. "Can we talk? Alone?" Emma shot me a look. I could read her mind. Don't do it. But I was trying to be the bigger person, trying to give Patricia one last chance to be kind. "Sure," I said. "Girls, can you give us a minute?" Emma hesitated, then nodded. "We'll be right outside." The door clicked shut, and Patricia and I were alone. She walked to the window, looking out at the venue's gardens below. "It's a beautiful day for a wedding." "It is," I agreed cautiously. She turned to face me. "Sarah, I'm going to ask you one more time. Please don't marry my son." My heart sank. "Patricia—" "I'll pay you," she interrupted. $50,000. Cash. You call off the wedding, disappear, and Michael can move on with his life. Find someone more suitable." I stared at her, stunned. "You're bribing me?" "I'm offering you a way out," she said. "You clearly need the money. This is your chance to take it and walk away with dignity." Anger surged through me. "I don't want your money, Patricia. I love Michael. I'm marrying him in 3 hours, and nothing you say is going to change that." Her expression hardened. "You're making a mistake." "No," I said firmly. "You are. You're pushing away your son because you can't accept that he's an adult who makes his own choices, and if you keep this up, you're going to lose him completely." For a moment, something flickered in her eyes, pain, maybe, or recognition. But then her mask slipped back into place. "You'll regret this," she said coldly. "I don't think so," I replied. "But I do think we're done here. I need to finish getting ready." She stared at me for a long moment, then turned and walked to the door. "You're right. We are done." She left. I exhaled, my hands shaking. Emma rushed back in seconds later. "What happened? Are you okay?" "She tried to bribe me to call off the wedding," I said, sinking into a chair. "She what?" Jessica gasped. $50,000 to disappear, I said. "Can you believe that?" "Yes," Emma said flatly. "Yes, I absolutely can. Sarah, you need to tell Michael." "I will," I promised. "After the ceremony. I'm not letting her ruin this day." Rachel squeezed my shoulder. "You handled that like a boss. Now let's get you into that dress and married." I nodded, pushing Patricia out of my mind. I had a wedding to get to. By noon, I was fully dressed. The gown fit perfectly, hugging my curves in all the right places. I felt beautiful, confident, ready. "You look stunning," Emma said, her eyes tearing up. "Michael's going to lose his mind when he sees you." "Let's hope in a good way," I joked. We took photos, me with the bridesmaids, me alone, me pretending to read a card Michael had sent that morning that said, "Can't wait to marry you. You're my forever." At 12:30, there was another knock on the door. Emma opened it, and there was Patricia again. "I need to talk to Sarah," she said. "Now." Absolutely not, Emma said. You've done enough. It's about the ceremony, Patricia insisted. There's something wrong with the flowers. Sarah needs to know. I walked to the door. What's wrong with the flowers? Patricia's eyes were wild, desperate. Please, Sarah, just listen to me. 5 minutes. I'm begging you. Against my better judgment and Emma's furious head shaking, I stepped into the hallway. What is it? I asked. Patricia grabbed my arm. Don't marry him, please. You don't understand. This family will destroy you. I'm trying to protect you. Patricia, stop, I said firmly, pulling my arm away. I'm not calling off the wedding. You need to leave. You have no idea what you're getting into. Security! Emma called from inside the room. Patricia's face twisted with something ugly. Rage, desperation, fear. Fine, she hissed. You want to ruin his life? Go ahead, but don't say I didn't warn you. She stormed off down the hallway. I went back inside, my heart pounding. That woman is unhinged, Jessica said. Sarah, you need to ban her from the ceremony. I can't do that, I said. She's Michael's mother. Then Michael needs to handle her, Emma said. This is not normal. I texted Michael. Your mom is spiraling. She tried to pay me to cancel the wedding and just cornered me in the hallway. We need to talk after the ceremony. His response came immediately. What? I'm calling her right now. I'm so sorry. I put my phone away. It's fine. Michael's handling it. Let's just focus on getting through the next 2 hours. Emma looked unconvinced but nodded. Okay, but I'm keeping an eye on her during the ceremony. If she tries anything, I'm tackling her myself. Despite everything, I laughed. At 1 o'clock, the photographer came to take final getting ready shots. I posed by the window, holding my bouquet, trying to look serene and bridal instead of stressed and worried. At 1:15, Emma went to check on the ceremony setup. At 1:20, I smelled smoke. Do you smell that? Rachel asked, sniffing the air. Yeah, I said, frowning. What is that? Jessica walked to the door and opened it. Oh my God! I rushed over and saw Patricia standing in the hallway holding a lighter, and my wedding dress, the dress I'd saved for, the dress I'd cried over, the dress I was supposed to wear in less than 2 hours, was hanging on a garment rack in the hallway. On fire. Patricia was laughing, a high, hysterical sound, as the flames consumed the delicate lace. Now you can't marry my son, she screamed. No dress, no wedding. I stood frozen, watching the fabric blacken and curl, the smell of burning silk filling the air. Emma appeared from down the hallway, saw what was happening, and screamed. She grabbed a bottle of sparkling water from a nearby table and doused the dress, stamping out the flames with her heels. But it was too late. The dress was destroyed, charred, melted, unwearable. Patricia was still laughing, triumphant, insane. And I, standing there in my robe, my perfect hair and makeup suddenly feeling absurd, felt a cold, calm fury settle over me. I walked toward Patricia. She was still smiling, still gloating. Patricia, I said quietly. She turned to me, expecting tears, expecting me to crumble. Instead, I looked her dead in the eyes and said, You have no idea what you just did. Her smile faltered. What are you going to do? Cry? The wedding's in 2 hours. You lost. I pulled out my phone. Security, this is Sarah Mitchell in the bridal suite. I need someone to escort Patricia Patterson out of the building immediately. She's destroyed property and is banned from the premises. Patricia's face went white. You can't. This is my son's wedding. Not anymore, I said. 2 security guards appeared within minutes. Patricia tried to argue, tried to pull rank, tried to claim she was the mother of the groom and had every right to be there. Ma'am, the bride has requested your removal, one guard said firmly. You need to leave. No! Patricia shrieked as they took her arms. You can't do this to me! Michael! Michael! They dragged her down the hallway, her screams echoing off the walls, her expensive heels scraping against the carpet. When she was gone, I turned to Emma. Get Michael, I said, and get my backup plan. Emma blinked. What backup plan? I almost smiled. The one I made 2 weeks ago when I had a feeling she'd pull something exactly like this. 2 weeks earlier, I'd been lying in bed scrolling through wedding planning forums when I came across a thread titled, "Mother-in-Law Disasters: How to Protect Yourself." The stories were horrifying. Dresses accidentally ruined with wine, cakes destroyed, venues canceled at the last minute, and dozens of commenters saying the same thing. I wish I'd had a backup plan. That's when Emma had texted me. "Just finished watching that true crime doc about the wedding sabotage. Please tell me you're not tempting fate with Patricia." I'd stared at that message for a long time before responding. What if I ordered a second dress? Just in case? Emma had called me immediately. "Are you serious?" "I don't know," I'd admitted. "Maybe I'm being paranoid. Or maybe you're being smart," Emma had said. "Look, I love that you want to see the best in people, but Patricia has given you 0 reasons to trust her. If you want peace of mind, get a backup dress. Store it at my place. Patricia will never know." So I did. I found a simpler gown online. Elegant, affordable, rush delivery. It arrived 3 days later. Emma picked it up from my apartment while I was at work, and we never spoke of it again, until now. Emma's eyes went wide. "You actually did it. You got a backup dress." "It's at your house," I said. "Can you get it?" "I'm 20 minutes away." "Then drive fast," I said. "The ceremony starts at 3. We have time." Emma grabbed her keys and sprinted out the door. Rachel was staring at me with something like awe. "You planned for this. You actually planned for Patricia to sabotage your wedding." "I planned for the possibility," I corrected. "I didn't want to believe she'd actually do it, but I wasn't going to let her win if she did." Jessica was already on her phone. "I'm texting Michael. He needs to know what his psycho mother just did." My phone buzzed. Michael's name flashed on the screen. I answered. "Sarah?" His voice was frantic. "Security just called me. They said they removed my mother from the venue." "What happened?" "Your mother," I said, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins, "just set my wedding dress on fire." Silence. Then, "She did what?" "Burned it, in the hallway, while laughing. Said I couldn't marry you without a dress." I paused. "Michael, I need you to choose. Right now. Me or her." The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. 10 seconds. 15. Then Michael's voice came through, low and firm. "I'm calling the police. Where is she?" I exhaled, relief flooding through me. "Security escorted her out. She's banned from the venue." "Good," Michael said. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I should have handled this months ago. Years ago. I let her treat you like this because I kept thinking she'd change, but she never will. You're about to be my wife. You come first. Always." Tears pricked my eyes. "Are you sure? That's your mother." "And you're going to be my family," he said. "The family I choose. I'm pressing charges for property destruction. And I'm telling her she's out of my life until she gets serious help. I should have done this a long time ago." "I love you," I whispered. "I love you too. And Sarah, we're getting married today, whatever it takes." I hung up and looked at my bridesmaids. Emma's getting the backup dress. The wedding is happening. Rachel whooped. Jessica started crying happy tears, and I felt something shift inside me, a strength I didn't know I had. Emma burst back through the door 45 minutes later, holding a garment bag and breathing hard. "I broke at least 3 traffic laws getting here. This dress better fit." It did. It was simpler than my original gown, a sleek silhouette with minimal embellishment, but it was beautiful, and more importantly, it was mine. Patricia hadn't touched it, hadn't tainted it. The makeup artist touched up my face while the photographer captured everything. In the photos, I looked calm, determined, like a woman who'd survived a battle and was ready to claim her victory. At 2:30, there was a knock on the door. Jessica opened it carefully, clearly expecting Patricia to somehow reappear. Instead, an older woman stood there, elegant, silver-haired, with the kind of poise that comes from old money and older wisdom. "Eleanor," I said, surprised. Eleanor Patterson was Michael's grandmother, Patricia's mother-in-law, and the matriarch of the Patterson family. I'd met her twice, once at a family Easter dinner and once at our engagement party. She'd been kind both times, asking thoughtful questions about my work and complimenting my taste. "Sarah, dear," Eleanor said, stepping into the room. "I just saw Patricia being escorted out by security. She was screaming something about fire and dresses. Please tell me she didn't—" "She burned my wedding dress," I said simply. "But I'm fine. I have a backup." Eleanor closed her eyes, pain flickering across her face. "I'm so sorry. I should have warned you. I should have done something sooner." "Warned me about what?" Eleanor sat down in one of the chairs, suddenly looking every one of her 72 years. "Patricia did this before. When Michael's father wanted to marry her, my husband and I had reservations. She came from a different background, had different values. We weren't cruel about it, we just wanted our son to be sure. But Patricia took it as a declaration of war." She paused, gathering herself. "She made our lives miserable for the first 5 years of their marriage, turned our son against us. We barely saw our grandson grow up. And when my son died," her voice caught, "Patricia didn't even let us help with the funeral arrangements. She shut us out completely." "I didn't know," I said softly. "No one does. Patricia rewrites history to make herself the victim. But I watched her turn my son into someone I didn't recognize. Someone who was always anxious, always walking on eggshells. And now she's doing the same thing to Michael." Eleanor reached into her purse and pulled out a checkbook. "I know your dress was expensive. I want to cover it and any other damage Patricia caused. And Sarah," she looked up at me with fierce determination, "I want to walk you down the aisle. If you'll let me." My throat tightened. My own father had suffered a stroke 6 months earlier and was still recovering. He'd wanted desperately to be here but couldn't travel. I'd planned to walk alone. "I would be honored," I managed to say. Eleanor stood and embraced me. "You're stronger than Patricia knows, stronger than even Michael realizes. You're going to be good for him, and I promise you, I will not let her destroy this family again." At 2:55, I stood at the entrance to the ceremony space. The afternoon sun streamed through the tall windows, illuminating 200 guests seated in neat rows. I could see Michael at the altar, his best man beside him, his eyes scanning the crowd nervously. Eleanor stood next to me, her arm linked through mine. "Ready?" she asked. "Ready," I said. The music began, heads turned, and I watched Michael's face transform when he saw me. Relief, love, awe, all flooding his expression at once. We walked down the aisle together, Eleanor's steady presence anchoring me. When we reached the altar, she squeezed my hand once before placing it in Michael's. "Take care of each other," she said quietly, then took her seat in the front row. The ceremony was perfect. The officiant spoke about love and partnership and choosing each other every day. When it came time for vows, Michael's voice cracked with emotion. "Sarah," he said, "I promise to always put us first, to protect you, honor you, and stand beside you against anything or anyone who tries to hurt you. No one will come between us, not ever again." I squeezed his hands, tears streaming down my face. "Michael, I promise to be your partner, your best friend, and your safe place. We're building a life together, our life, on our terms, and nothing will shake that foundation." When the officiant pronounced us married and Michael kissed me, the guests erupted in applause. Some of them knew what had happened, some didn't. But everyone could feel the significance of that moment, two people choosing each other despite everything. As we walked back down the aisle as husband and wife, I saw several guests checking their phones with shocked expressions. By the time we reached the reception, I understood why. Someone, a guest or maybe a staff member, had filmed Patricia being escorted out, had filmed her screaming, fighting with security, declaring that I'd stolen her son and ruined her life. The video was already viral. Emma showed me on her phone during cocktail hour. The caption read, "Psycho mother-in-law crashes wedding, burns bride's dress." I watched as Patricia, in the video, shrieked at the security guards. "You don't understand. She's manipulating him. I'm saving my son." The comments section was brutal. This is literally insane. Get this woman help. Imagine being such a narcissist that you can't let your adult son get married. The bride looked so calm while this crazy lady was being dragged out. Icon behavior. Michael saw it too, his jaw clenched. I can't believe this is on the internet. At least everyone can see what we've been dealing with, I said quietly. Eleanor approached us, champagne glass in hand. Patricia has been texting me. She's trying to claim you manipulated security, that she was wrongfully removed, that she's the victim here. What did you tell her? Michael asked. I told her I watched you set fire to a wedding dress and that if she contacts anyone in this family again before completing a psychiatric evaluation and formal therapy, I'm removing her from the family trust. Eleanor took a sip of champagne. She stopped texting. Michael looked stunned. Grandmother, you don't have to. Yes, I do, Eleanor said firmly. I failed your father by not intervening sooner. I won't fail you. Patricia needs professional help, and until she gets it, she's not welcome in your lives. The reception was joyful despite everything. Or maybe because of everything, we'd survived Patricia's worst and come out the other side married, together, stronger. During the toasts, Emma stood up with a grin. I've known Sarah for 10 years, she said, and I've never seen her back down from a challenge. When she told me 2 weeks ago that she wanted a backup wedding dress just in case, I thought she was being paranoid. Turns out she was being brilliant. Here's to Sarah, who taught us all that having boundaries doesn't make you cruel, it makes you strong. The guests cheered. Michael kissed me. And for the first time in hours, I let myself fully relax. But Patricia wasn't done. At 10 that night, after the reception had ended and Michael and I were finally alone in our hotel suite, my phone started buzzing. Facebook notifications, Instagram DMs, emails. Patricia had posted on Facebook. I opened the app with dread. Her post was long, rambling, desperate. My son got married today and I wasn't allowed to attend because his bride manipulated security into removing me. I tried to warn him that she's using him for his money and status, but he's too blinded by infatuation to see the truth. I raised him alone after his father died. I sacrificed everything for him. And this is how he repays me? By choosing a gold digger who's turned him against his own mother? I'm heartbroken. I'm devastated. Someone please help me get through to him before she destroys his life. The comments were split. Some of Patricia's friends were sympathetic. Oh, Patricia, I'm so sorry. This is awful. But far more people were brutal. Patricia, there's video of you setting fire to her dress. Stop playing victim. Someone had commented with a link to the viral video. Patricia had responded, That video is taken out of context. I was trying to save him from making a mistake. Michael was reading it over my shoulder. His face had gone pale. She's never going to stop, he said quietly. Is she? Not until she faces consequences, I said. He picked up his phone. Then it's time she did. Michael called the police and filed a formal report for destruction of property. The dress had cost $3,500. The officer on the phone explained that it would likely be a misdemeanor charge, but with the video evidence, prosecution was straightforward. Then Michael did something I didn't expect. He posted his own Facebook statement. To everyone asking about the wedding, yes, my mother was removed by security. Yes, there's a video. And yes, it shows exactly what happened. She intentionally destroyed my wife's wedding dress in an attempt to stop our wedding. I've filed a police report. I've asked her repeatedly to seek therapy for her controlling behavior, and she's refused. This isn't about a mother concerned for her son. This is about a parent who can't accept that their child is an adult with their own life. I love Sarah. She's my wife, my partner, and my family. And I won't tolerate anyone, including my mother, treating her with cruelty. If you're thinking of reaching out to defend my mother's actions, please don't. I'm not interested in hearing excuses for abuse. He hit post before I could stop him. Michael, I said, are you sure? This is permanent. So is marriage, he said, taking my hand. You're my priority now, not her feelings. The post exploded. Comments of support flooded in. A few of Patricia's friends tried to argue, but Michael's cousins backed him up with their own stories of Patricia's manipulation and control. By midnight, Patricia had deleted her post. By 1 a.m., she'd deactivated her entire Facebook account. Michael and I lay in bed, exhausted, still in our wedding clothes because we'd been too drained to change. "Do you think she'll actually get help?" I asked. Michael was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know. Part of me hopes so, but part of me knows that people like her, people who've spent years believing they're always right, rarely change unless they hit rock bottom." "And if she doesn't change, then we build our life without her," he said firmly. "We set boundaries, we protect our peace, and we don't feel guilty about it." I rolled over to face him. You know what the hardest part of today was? It wasn't the dress burning. It wasn't Patricia screaming. It was realizing that she genuinely believes she did nothing wrong, that she's the victim in all of this. Michael nodded. "That's what my grandmother tried to warn me about years ago. She said my mom has a way of rewriting reality to make herself the hero, and I defended her because she's my mom. But after today," his voice broke, "I can't keep defending her, not when it means sacrificing you." We fell asleep holding each other, still in our wedding finery, the charred remains of my original dress already in an evidence bag for the police report. The next morning we left for our honeymoon, a week in Costa Rica. We'd agreed, no checking social media, no talking about Patricia, just us and the beach and the chance to remember what we were building together. It was blissful. We hiked through rainforests, swam in waterfalls, ate fresh seafood at sunset. Michael was different, lighter, freer, like a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. "I didn't realize how much energy I was spending managing her emotions," he admitted one night over dinner. "Always trying to keep her happy. Always worried she'd blow up. It's like I can finally breathe." When we returned home, reality set in. Patricia had been charged with criminal mischief, a misdemeanor. Her court date was set for 2 months out. Her lawyer had reached out to Michael asking if he'd be willing to request the charges be dropped, for the sake of family. Michael declined. Eleanor called with an update. Patricia completed an initial psychiatric evaluation. The doctor recommended intensive therapy and possibly medication for anxiety and control issues. She refused both. Said the doctor was in on it with you and Sarah. "Of course she did," Michael said tiredly. "I've told her that until she completes at least 6 months of therapy, she won't have access to the family trust," Eleanor continued. "She's living off her savings now. It's not my goal to punish her, Michael. It's to help her see that her behavior has real consequences." 3 months passed. Patricia went to court, pleaded guilty to avoid trial, and was sentenced to community service, probation, and court-mandated therapy. The judge's words were pointed. "Mrs. Patterson, your son's wedding day should have been a celebration. Instead, you turned it into a crime scene. I'm ordering you to complete 6 months of therapy and anger management. Use this time to reflect on why you felt entitled to destroy someone else's property to get your way." Patricia left the courtroom without looking at Michael or me. Her therapist, a condition of her probation, sent a report after 3 months. Patricia intellectually understands that her actions were inappropriate but continues to justify them emotionally. She believes she was protecting her son and feels victimized by the legal consequences. Progress is slow. Michael read the report and sighed. "Do you think she'll ever actually change?" "I don't know," I said honestly, "but that's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to protect ourselves and build the life we want." And we did. We bought a house 2 hours from Patricia's neighborhood, intentional distance that gave us space to breathe. I got promoted to creative director at work. Michael started therapy to work through his childhood and the enmeshment with his mother. In one session, his therapist said something that stuck with him. "You were trained from childhood to prioritize your mother's emotions over your own well-being. Breaking that pattern is one of the hardest things you'll ever do, but it's also one of the most important." 6 months after the wedding, I found out I was pregnant. Michael's face lit up when I showed him the positive test. "We're having a baby." "We are," I said, then hesitated. "What do we do about your mom?" Michael's expression sobered. "We tell her, eventually. But she doesn't get automatic access to our child. She has to earn it, and if she can't respect our boundaries, then she doesn't get to be involved." Eleanor was the first person we told. She cried happy tears and promised to be the most hands-on grandmother imaginable. I missed so much with Michael, she said. I won't miss this. We told Patricia at 7 months, after we'd established our boundaries clearly. Michael sent her a letter. Mom, Sarah, and I are expecting a baby. Before you ask, no, this doesn't mean things go back to how they were. You burned my wife's wedding dress. You tried to bribe her to leave me. You've made it clear you don't respect our relationship. If you want to be part of this child's life, you need to complete therapy, genuinely apologize to Sarah, and prove through sustained action that you've changed. Those are our terms. They're non-negotiable. Patricia's response came 3 days later. It wasn't what we expected. Michael, I've been in therapy for 6 months now. It's been the hardest thing I've ever done. My therapist says I have control issues and that I used you to fill the void after your father died. She says I need to learn that love means letting go, not holding on tighter. I don't know if I can ever fully repair what I've broken, but I want to try. Not for access to your baby, though I hope someday you'll trust me enough for that, but because I need to look at myself honestly for the first time in my life. I'm sorry for what I did to Sarah. I'm sorry for how I treated your relationship, and I'm sorry it took losing you to make me face my own behavior. I don't expect forgiveness, but I'm asking for a chance, even a small one, to prove I can do better. Michael showed me the letter. I read it twice, looking for manipulation, for guilt tripping, for blame shifting. I couldn't find any. What do you think? Michael asked. I think, I said carefully, that this is the first time she's taken accountability without adding a but. That doesn't mean we trust her, but maybe we give her one supervised video call. No promises beyond that. Michael nodded. One call. And if she crosses a line, that's it. We scheduled the call for the following weekend. Patricia appeared on screen looking smaller somehow, less made up, more human. Hi, she said quietly. Hi, Mom, Michael said. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry. To both of you. I was wrong. I can't. Her voice broke. I can't believe what I did. I burned your dress, Sarah. On your wedding day. I don't know how to make that right. I don't know if I can. You can't, I said honestly. But you can work on yourself so you don't hurt people like that again. Patricia nodded. That's what my therapist says. She says I need to grieve the fantasy I had of controlling Michael's life and accept the reality that he's his own person. It's harder than it sounds. I know it is, Michael said. Mom, I love you, but I can't have you in my life if you're going to treat Sarah the way you did. She's my wife. She's about to be the mother of my child. She's my family. I understand, Patricia said. I don't expect to come back into your lives. I know I have to earn it, if I even can. We talked for 30 minutes. It was awkward, stilted, painful. But Patricia didn't make excuses, didn't blame us, didn't guilt trip. When we hung up, Michael looked drained. What do you think? I think, I said slowly, that she's starting, just starting, and we'll see if she can keep it up. A year later, Patricia had completed therapy and asked for another call. Then another. Always respectful, always bouncing boundaries, always asking instead of demanding. When our daughter was born, Eleanor Rose, named after Michael's grandmother, Patricia sent a card and a handmade blanket. The note inside said simply, "Congratulations. I'm so happy for your family." She didn't ask to visit, didn't push for photos, didn't overstep. Michael cried when he read it. She's really trying. 3 months after Eleanor was born, we invited Patricia to a supervised visit at a park. She held her granddaughter for 10 minutes, tears streaming down her face, before handing her back without being asked. She's beautiful, Patricia whispered. You're going to be wonderful parents. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't reconciliation. But it was a beginning. And as I sat on that park bench, watching my husband talk cautiously with his mother while our daughter slept in my arms, I thought about that day she burned my dress, about how I'd stood there in my backup gown, stronger than I'd ever been, and chosen myself, chosen my boundaries, chosen my future. Some people think forgiveness means forgetting. It doesn't. It means I won't let her actions control my life anymore. but she'll never get the front row seat she thought she deserved. Because I learned something that day, she burned my dress. You can't destroy someone who's already built themselves to survive anything. And that's exactly what I am. A survivor who chose love, boundaries, and peace over drama. And you know what? That's the best revenge of all. If this story resonated with you, you're not alone. And remember, you don't owe anyone access to your peace, not even family.